Hey guys, it's Siobhan with ToKittyandBeyond. Welcome back to my channel. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I've been posting some content about past lives and specifically some of my own personal past life stories. So I wanted to make a full-length video with more details if you guys are interested in learning about my past life history. So this isn't going to go in order because I don't even know what the order would be. So we're just going to kind of jump around and talk about all of the different past lives that I've experienced. But before we do that, let's talk about what past lives actually are and how you can identify your own past lives possibly. Past lives are lives that are not currently now. So technically speaking, we can also classify them as parallel lives, as when we think about the infinite structure of time and space, everything that's not now is technically happening in another now. Not to confuse you, but the soul exists outside of time and space. So when we incarnate into the spiritual matrix of the 3D reality, say for example here on Earth, our soul basically splits off parts of itself and our consciousness goes into that particular lifetime. So because the soul is immortal and the physical being of the human experience is not, we have to go through the birth and death process. But once we're back on the other side in spirit, we just go through it again. We choose where we want to go and we go and do that. So pretty much everybody has past lives. I mean, it's pretty rare to come across somebody who doesn't. And even if they don't technically have past lives here on Earth, they most certainly have past lives somewhere else. I've never come across a completely brand new soul, although that does exist. So let's talk briefly about how you can start to uncover your own past life history if you're not psychic or you don't want to go to a past life regressionist or something like that. The first tip that I have for you is to pay attention to what you're drawn to or what you have a natural skill or ability to do. So for example, you played piano in a past life proficiently and you reincarnated into this life. You might not be intent on playing the piano in this lifetime, but if you tried, you'd probably be pretty good at it. So it's those types of people who either have a natural affinity for something because they experienced it before and they loved it then, so they probably love it now, or they have a natural skill or talent for something that they developed in a past life, even if the sole intention isn't to use that in this lifetime. You also want to look at what time periods or locations you have an affinity or feel drawn to, especially those that feel like home. So you might be drawn to travel to a particular place on Earth, or you might feel like you were meant to belong in a different time period entirely. Usually those are indications that you spent some time there as a soul. Fears and phobias and repeating cycles can also be themes that reoccur from past lives. And this is what I do with clients. We work through the Akashic Record and through energy healing to get to the root of these karmic patterns. Some of them start in this lifetime and a lot of them start in the past lifetimes that they've experienced. Sometimes up to 20 or 30 lifetimes ago, although that's pretty entrenched at that point. So that being said, if you guys want to learn more about your specific past life history, do some past life healing or anything like that, I do have services available. You can check at my website, ToKittyandBeyond.com. The link is in the description box below this video. Okay, now let's get into my past life stories. All right, so the first one I want to talk about is one that I experienced in Japan. And Japan has always been like a special thing for me, especially ancient Japan or rural Japan. I have a fascination with that ever since I was little, and I remember being drawn to Japanese style artwork and Japanese style architecture from a very young age. And now I realize why that was, because when I started to learn to develop my psychic abilities and I started unlocking all of my soul codes and potentials, I started coming across my soul history and the memories returned. One of the memories that I have from my life in Japan was that I just really loved tea. I mean, that's such a Japanese thing, isn't it? Like, I just really loved tea and I really loved and enjoyed the sliding doors. Like, I remember going in and out of my room and sleeping on the rollout mat on the floor, and it was just really peaceful and quiet. It was a very quiet, slow lifetime, and I really, really enjoyed that. If a soul particularly likes a place, they're also more likely to reincarnate there again in a different time period. So fast forward to, I don't know, I guess the 1930s or 40s, whenever the war was, I should know this, but I'm not good at history or geography for that matter. But I remember in that lifetime, there was a lot more fear, and I had to deal with some of my phobias around being bombed because I was living in rural Japan when they were dropping bombs. And I remember the sound of the sirens for the air raid drills, and I remember the sound of airplanes flying overhead. And to this day, like I'm just talking about it now, my nervous system's starting to get activated. Okay, so that's not happening right now. That's in the past. You're safe. You're right here in the present. It is 2023 and your name is Siobhan. Sometimes you just gotta jog yourself back into the present, like reground, re-anchor yourself, especially when, you know, you're doing this kind of past life work. So yeah, that wasn't necessarily the most fun lifetime, but I did learn a lot from that. And there was some other reasons as to why I chose that lifetime, but I won't go into those right now. The second lifetime I want to share with you guys is one that I had in, I don't know where it was. It may have been Rome or Alexandria or Greece, maybe. It was somewhere like that, maybe even in Italy. But I remember that I was a scribe, and then I developed my skill and I got a job at a library where my job was essentially to translate or transcribe information. And so all I did was sit within, you know, the library at my desk all day, and I would copy out or write out books, scrolls, anything that came across my desk. Write it out, copy it out. And I loved that lifetime because, first of all, I really love reading, I love writing, I love learning, and that gave me an opportunity to do that. And I also really liked it because it gave me a great opportunity to just enjoy my own company. I spent a lot of time alone in that lifetime, and in that lifetime I was an introvert, still an introvert. So I don't know if that's like a soul level thing or if that's like a reincarnation choice. That's something I'm gonna have to ask about. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe I'll find out one day. I'll let you know. But it gave me a lot of alone time and a lot of contemplation time and a lot of time to integrate knowledge and information. So I really enjoyed that. And I remember in that lifetime, I particularly loved quills. I loved having different quills. I loved my ink pot. I loved writing things out. I loved the smell of the parchment or the paper that I was working with. I loved the smell of the books. It was just a very positive sensory experience and therefore memory for me. And fast forward to this incarnation or this current lifetime, and I still absolutely love feathers and leather-bound books and scrolls. Like unfurling a scroll, are you kidding me? That's amazing. That's like freaking candy for me. And I love writing still. I love to write out by hand. I love the feeling of paper, and I love the feeling of the pen on the paper. Yeah, it's all just like a sensory thing for me. So I think that is something that I developed in that lifetime, and it's obviously just carried forward. Next lifetime I want to share with you was actually one that was in or around somewhere in Egypt. I don't know what time period it was, but it must have been quite a long time ago, so it wasn't anything recent, because I remember I was wearing like these leather sort of thong sandals, like the kind that kind of wrap around your ankle, and I was wearing almost like a tunic, like a rough cottony sort of tunic, and I was a student. And so what we would do every day was we would go to this big temple. It had these massive columns or pillars, and they were all decorated with red and gold and blue hieroglyphics and all of this, just beautiful. It was absolutely vibrant. And I would go there, and we would have these like long wooden tables that were our desks, and we would go sit at them, and we would learn all about esoteric knowledge. So we were studying life, we were studying death, we were studying the spirit, we were studying the gods and goddesses and the mythology, we were studying how energy was transferred, we were studying all types of things. The purpose of that lifetime for me as a soul was, again, knowledge. If you haven't guessed a theme by now, it's actually because my soul type expression is divine communication. And that means that I have a natural affinity at soul level to learn, to write, to express myself through words, and even to teach as well. So no wonder I'm here talking all day for a living. Go figure. I also write in my spare time. So anyway, in that lifetime, I was actually learning all about the sacredness of death. And in that lifetime, I went through the entire life. I grew up and I went through adulthood and then I went through old age. And I remember the day of my death, and I was quite old at that point. So it was a natural death. But I remember I could feel it coming because I was so in tune with my spirit and my body. And basically, the whole community would come together and celebrate any time that a death would happen, because we understood that the death was actually a rebirth. You were being reborn into spirit, which is your true essence. And so we honored and revered that process. And so the person who was dying was essentially surrounded by their loved ones and the entire community, and was honored and celebrated. It was almost like a birthday party, but in reverse. I guess that would be a death day party. Yeah, a death day party. And I remember actually leaving the body in that lifetime. I stayed, to like look around and enjoy myself and feel the elation of being back in my spirit form. And just the pure joy that came from that. And before I went off to do my life recall. You do like a life assessment before I went to do my life assessment. And I remember when that memory or that vision of that lifetime came back to me, I can't remember if it was either right before or right after my mom had passed in this life. And I really benefited from that memory of that lifetime because it gave me the context and like the actual experience and the memory of this honoring and sacredness of death, and the fact that the spirit is eternal. It does not die. Now, I know that. I do this for work, but I feel like something shifted in me when I actually saw it and experienced it for myself through that past life memory. So it really helped me to heal my heart and to alleviate some of my fears around my mom's passing. I think if there were any other past lives that I could share with you right now. I've lived a lot of them, and those are only just the ones I've lived here on earth. I've lived a lot of lives elsewhere as well, as I tend to be a wanderer spirit. Because my soul is constantly seeking knowledge, I travel around, and I have become, over time, that's a pun for myself, a galactic historian, and that entails being able to move through time and to work with different timelines and things like that as well. That's why the pun makes sense to me. So yeah, there's been lives that I've had on Arcturus, Sirius, Mintaka, Pleiades. If you're interested in learning about those, I have a whole starseed origin series you guys can get into, or if you haven't already. And I really enjoyed those experiences as well. Completely different from Earth, but there is some crossover, and there is a lot of information and learning and lessons that can be really achieved in different ways, but with the similar type of goal in mind, which is ultimately love, unity, self-awareness, self-expression, self-creation, physical experience, all of these different things. So I think that that's all of the past lives. Those are the ones that are just coming to mind. If I think of any more, I'll make another video. But yeah, those are the ones that really stick out to me. If you guys want to learn more about your own past lives, like I said, I have services to help support you in that. Or if you feel called to go do any other kind of past life work for yourself, I highly encourage it, because it can be really helpful and healing for you to be able to remember who you were, who you are now, what skills you had, what places you went, what experiences you learned, and what you created. All of these things are important, and they come with us. They make up who we are. And sometimes having a broader perspective of that can help to give us context for understanding ourselves now. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I love you, and we'll see you in the next video.